Hi everyone, Christian Ponte here with the Tanooki. I'm here with Eímear Noone, the conductor for the Legend of Zelda Symphony of the Goddesses. Thank you very much for your time.
Hi Christian, good to meet you.
Now you've got a broad resume as far as the music industry is concerned. Can you give us a brief background of it as to what you've done?
Where do I start? Ballet, symphonic music, film scores, game scores. I was outside there just sort of thinking, and I realized I'm about to record my 7th record of game music in next week. That kind of snuck up on me a little bit. But everything, if it involves an orchestra, I just love, music is my life. You know, I just love the orchestra so much. It's been my life since I was 4 years old, you know, like everyone else in the orchestra out there. But this, just what I absolutely love the game recordings we've been doing, because game directors aren't afraid to go out there and go for the big sound that they grew up listening to on great movie scores. So now we have this whole new phenomenon, since the technology will allow little more than 8-bit at this stage, to have these massive symphonic scores. And I think it's something that music history will look back on as a beautiful golden moment in time.
Now, what would you say is your major instrument?
Well, I trained as a concert flutist I spent 8 years in conservatory and 5 years in university, Trinity College in Dublin, studying composition and orchestration as well. But piano, we all play piano as well. So, but I realized that I always wanted to be a conductor and a composer, but I realized that I would have to be able to play concerti, have to be able to play my instrument to a very high level in order to have the nerve to stand in front of an orchestra and tell anyone what to do. So I did play all the concerti in the repertoire for flute, and spent years and years and years studying piano, and started composition studies at a very early age. So that's kind of the background.
How did you get involved with the Legend of Zelda Symphony of the Goddesses?
I, first of all, because of all the titles I've recorded. Secondly, I co-produced a show with my husband, composer Craig Stewart Garfinkel, at Royce Hall in LA, called This Is Ireland, because I'm Irish, and I was just bereft that there was nothing going on St. Patrick's Day in LA. So we put an orchestra, gospel choir, and some star Irish actors like Pierce Brosnan and Roma Downey on stage on St. Patrick's Day. And the guys had been in touch with me from the production beforehand, and I invited them to the show, and they invited me to be part of it that night. So it's been a really great ride so far, and this has to be the best audience I've ever come across in my life. You know, I thought Irish people were a crazy audience, which we are, because we love our music. Zelda fans, they are a force, and I really appreciate it because of the way they treat the orchestra, with absolute love and appreciation. And that's the way I feel about the orchestra. And when I'm at a concert and I hear Stravinsky played incredibly well, I feel like yelling at the top of my voice, but I don't want to be the only numpty sitting there doing it, you know. Whereas this audience, they don't care, they just go for it. And it's, to see the orchestra, the expression on their faces when they get their due appreciation, it just fills me up. I just love it.
Now, what do you think makes Zelda music so special to the fans, and how do you, as the conductor, go about conveying or satisfying that in a performance?
Well, first of all, the themes that Kondo-san wrote, they're timeless, and they go straight. I mean, you have almost a physical reaction. They become part of you. So what happens with the fans is this, and I know this through talking with fans, a particular time in their life becomes encapsulated by a particular game, because in that period in their lives they're playing this game every day. The hero saves the princess. I mean, it's just so beautiful, and the themes are just grand and emotional and touching. So these themes and this period of time in people's lives become one. So it's like people talk about the olfactory senses. You get a scent of something and straight away you're back in a place that you first got that scent. Or you hear a piece of music that you listen to constantly over a period of time. So this is what happens. And even sometimes on a more serious note, you get people who seek refuge at a difficult time in their lives in something that's beautiful, something that has a great message, something where the hero can win the day, and they seek refuge in this. And so those themes become doubly important. So for me, when I go out on stage, I always have that in mind. I never, ever frivolously walk out on stage. I know how important this music is to so many people. I know how important it is to me. And I will not leave without having myself worked up. When I walk out on stage, I'm already performing before I leave the wings, because they deserve the very, very best. And I will not shirk that responsibility. I take it as a huge responsibility. And I feel so passionately about these themes, so it's easy. And when the orchestra sees this loop going on between us all, the orchestra and I just have such love and respect and admiration for my fellow musicians. So we have a thing going on. Then the audience and I have this love for these themes. And might I say, it's not just the themes. Chad Sider has brought these themes a new sort of weight with his cinematic interpretation of them. I mean, it's very symphonic, it's very cinematic. It's not simple music to play. It's not easy music. It is also, people say to me, oh, you know, this is bringing in a new audience like film music did. It's not the same. It may be cinematic or we call it in classical music programmatic, where the music depicts something. So there's that. However, you go to see a movie once, you go to see it twice because you loved it, and if you're one of a very select group, you buy the score. However, you don't sit with this score and listening to this orchestral sonority every day, day in, day out, for months until you beat the game. You don't with a film score. So the level of emotion is not the same. And I'm a huge film score fan as well. So I think that you now have this whole new group of people for whom the sonority of the orchestra, that sound, is part of their daily lives. I think that's never happened before. Even back in the days when people were constantly going to see orchestras, they didn't have the level of recorded music, not the level, but the amount of recorded music or the access to it that we have today. So they weren't listening to orchestra as much as we are today, even back then. So this is unique to me, and I'm in the middle of it.
Now, as a musician in a society pushing a lot of core subjects, sometimes at the expense of the fine arts, talk about the importance that shows like this have, like what kind of impact and importance they have on younger viewers in terms of getting into composition and performance.
Well, first of all, this situation, as I said, is unique, and it is ripe for this incredible audience. It's a ripe opportunity for orchestras to come and encourage this audience to broaden their experience. So this huge group of people already loves the sound of the orchestra. And to me, the theatre of watching a stage full of absolute thoroughbred artists giving of their hearts and souls. I mean, how could that ever be done, you know? So I think this is a unique time, and I think also for fans to know that this music didn't just come out of nothing. There's hundreds of years of backstory to this type of sound and this type of composition. And it's fun to go back and see where this has all come from. And I think my wish would be for programmers to realize that this is an audience that's open, you know. Don't patronize them. They are smart, they're open to experience, they love the orchestra already. Now let's fill them in on some of the backstory. So I think this is something that can be a conduit into the fine arts for a very smart audience. I mean, Zelda fans, I get letters all the time, and this is an intelligent, passionate, proud audience. So that's my take on it.
Now, to wrap up, you guys have a few more concerts left this year. What would you say to the fans who are still considering maybe buying a ticket to one of the other shows? What can they expect from this concert?
Oh, look, nothing but 110%. I promise you that. We are on stage. There's never been a show where I haven't had perspiration pouring down my back. That is absolutely it. And when the orchestra sees the relationships going on in the room, it elevates everybody, and it just becomes this feedback loop of passion. And it is just electrifying. And if I have done it as many times as I have, and I do not for a second get tired of it. I mean, for the first experience, I would only wish that everybody could see the passion we have on stage, feel it. It's very tangible, and it's just, I feel like our job is to take everybody out of their everyday life and take everybody with us to Hyrule, and to this higher plane where anything's possible. We're not held by the rules of the everyday.
Well, thank you very much for your time, Eímear.
You're welcome, Christian. It's a pleasure to meet you.
You too. Thank you very much.
And you're going to be at the show tonight?
I will be there.
Excellent. So you can see that, you know, you can see that this is the truth. This is where we're coming from. It's all right there in front of you.
Thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
I'm Christian Ponte from the Tanooki, and we'll catch you guys later.